let's get into today's big story. Last night, here in New York, NBC hosted a special Commander-in-Chief Forum, which was momentous for two reasons. One, it would give U.S. voters a unique opportunity to see how each candidate would run the biggest military in the history of mankind. And secondly, because it was the first time Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were in the same venue. I mean, that's if you don't count when they both went to Star Jones's wedding, you know, or if you don't count like, you know, when you went to Melania's thing, or if you don't count his visiting her in the White House. I mean, you know, if I didn't know any better, I'd say these two were friends. But last night, they were back to playing enemies. And what better place than a warship?
The Commander-in-Chief Forum, live from the carrier Intrepid in New York. Here now is Matt Lauer.
Good evening, everyone. The decisions a commander-in-chief makes can have a profound and lasting impact on all Americans. After a coin toss yesterday, won by Mr. Trump, he chose to go second. So that means we begin tonight with the Democratic nominee for president.
I'm sorry, wait, they flipped a coin? You'd think for an event so serious, they wouldn't use such a basic decider, you know? And how did Hillary lose a coin toss to Trump? You'd think it'd be easy to beat him at a coin toss, because whenever someone asks him, heads or tails, he probably answers, titties. I'm surprised after beating Hillary, Donald Trump didn't make more of it, you know? He should have made, like, that seems like the kind of thing Trump would do. He'd be like, you see, folks, once again, Hillary making a bad decision, folks. They asked her which side, and she chose the wrong side, folks. I would go in there and I would do it right. Now, here's a bit of trivia for you. Did you know, during World War II, on multiple occasions, kamikaze planes crashed into the Intrepid? And last night, Matt Lauer continued that tradition. Because I don't know what the he was doing, and neither did he. Because with just 30 minutes to ask Hillary about her national security strategy, he spent 1/3 of that time digging through her inbox.
Concerning your use of your personal email and server. Some of the emails you sent and received happened while you were overseas. Were some of the emails sent or received by you referring to our drone program? And you said you thought your communications on that were fairly choice. You were communicating on highly sensitive topics. Why wasn't it more than a mistake? Why wasn't it disqualifying?
Matt Lauer asked so many questions about email, I felt like I was stuck in line at the Genius Bar. It was just like, and don't get me wrong, it is important to question Hillary about her emails. And maybe if she did more than one press conference every 9 months, this topic would have died down a long time ago, because that's what Trump does. He's mastered the Q&A game, if you think about it. He talks to the press so much, they get tired of challenging him. He basically does press rope-a-dopes. That's what he's doing. But you see, the problem with spending so much time on Hillary's emails last night was that when we finally got to the military questions, this happened.
How will you determine when and where to deploy troops directly into harm's way, especially to combat ISIS?
As briefly as you can.
As briefly as you can? Are you me? This event was called the Commander-in-Chief Forum. It's the reason we were watching. And now, because Matt Lauer spent so much time on his questions about emails, the actual questions from the actual veterans about the actual Commander-in-Chiefing gets reduced to a speed date. And now, because you don't have time, you don't get to push back on things like this.
We are not putting ground troops into Iraq ever again. And we're not putting ground troops into Syria. We're going to defeat ISIS without committing American ground troops.
Sir, thank you. Thank you very much for your question.
We'll remember this, by the way. We'll remember this moment. Yeah, she's like, we won't send any ever again. You didn't even ask a follow-up. She said, not ever, which everyone knows is international politicians speak for, we'll talk about it later. Genuinely, guys, Matt Lauer and the NBC Forum were not good last night. Because if he wasn't good with Hillary Clinton, he was terrible when handling Trump. He just let Trump get away with blatant lies.
I was totally against the war in Iraq. You can look at Esquire magazine from '04. You can look at before that. And I was against the war in Iraq because I said it's going to totally destabilize the Middle East, which it has. It has absolutely been a disastrous war. And by the way, perhaps almost as bad was the way Barack Obama got out. That was a disaster.
People talk about you and Commander-in-Chief, and not just Secretary Clinton, but some of your Republican opponents in the primary season, and they wonder about your temperament.
Did you not hear the answer to the question? How did he just move on? First of all, Trump's answering the question like a toddler being questioned by his parents. And I didn't say no. And also another, and Barack, he was bad. And also, I don't go into, and me, I would never. And also, it was bad. But he lies. He blatantly lies. And then Lauer just moves on. All right, let's move on to the next question. I would love to date Matt Lauer, I'll tell you that. Yeah, because getting busted would be impossible. It would be like, who's thirsty, Lisa? My mom? All right, let's move on and talk about dinner. And by the way, people, I don't know how many times we have to go over this, but real quick, Donald Trump didn't oppose the war in Iraq. When asked about it in 2002 on the Howard Stern show, he said he was for the war. The interview's online, you can look it up. Secondly, Trump keeps referring to his 2004 Esquire magazine interview as proof that, unlike Hillary, he didn't want to go into war. Only one problem. Having an article would be proof unless that article was published 16 months after the war started. It is afterwards. The war has already been deemed a disaster, and now you're like, yeah, we shouldn't have gone in. Everyone knows you shouldn't have gone in. You can't oppose the thing after it's already happened. That's not how it works. The same way, next year, a lot of people are going to be against voting for Trump in the 2016 elections. That's what's going to happen. And I know some people are saying, well, what did you expect, man? It was Matt Lauer, okay? He's just the host of a morning show. He doesn't know how to push back. But that's why this is so disappointing. Because that's not true. Matt Lauer can take tough questions to very powerful people. And we've seen it before.
I'm counting chairs here, and I see 4. Normally, we're used to seeing you guys with 5, so let's start with the obvious. Where is Zayn?
Yeah, he's got a tummy bug.
When's he going to rejoin the band?
We're not sure yet. We're just waiting for a phone call from him.
Is it something more serious than just a minor illness? There have been rumors of substance abuse. What's going on?
No, he's just got a stomach bug. He's okay.
God damn! That's journalism. Look at that. He could have moved on when Liam spun him that story. He could have moved on when Liam was like, oh, it's a tummy bug, it's a tummy bug. But Matt Lauer knew Zayn's tummy was fine. And so he called out One Direction in front of their fans. An army way stronger than Hillary and Trump will ever possess. Come on, Matt Lauer, you didn't flinch in front of a bunch of rich, powerful children. I can't believe you couldn't face down just one. Hey there, thanks for subscribing to our new YouTube channel. You're probably thinking, but I didn't. I know, which is fine, but now you're thinking about subscribing. You should really just subscribe. Just do it. Subscribe. Who said that? Subscribe. Who's saying these things? Subscribe now. What?